The whole time, Andy, they talking about your ass sleep, boy. I got my dog Andy fucked up.
Why y'all left?
Look.
Nigga, y'all left the fucking thing.
Alright, I think I need to play poacher. You play wing.
Good job, boys.
What's the name? Go to fucking defender or wingback or hold in or
I
box
think he
to
should go
box,
central.
bro.
Yeah, I think he should go hold
Go
I'll be playing,
mid, bro. Spank you. Please, bro.
Oh shit, nigga, let me get right wing, Hari. My play left footed.
Please, bro.
My soul, nigga, got my player show it left footed.
Why?
Oh,
That slip that I had sent you had smacked. You would have put it in.
the same
Damn,
one.
you gonna
I
send
ain't
me
even
some
went on my
slip?
DraftKings.
Bro, I haven't even been betting. Like today was
It's only one leg
It
that
ain't
I
been
put
shit
in that
to
was
bet on.
different from yours. But it was kind of like the same shit for that. You remember that first leg that I put in that was different from yours? But it was damn near the same. Just damn near worded different though, I believe. I'm gonna log in my shit in a while when I get in front of my PC.
Facts, thank you. Free hip.
Damn, Reclue, what your shit at now?
By 6.
Cause if your shit cash, I made an easy 75 off that shit. I ain't put in as much.
You said 60, Reclue?
77.
210 profit.
Oh, what I did see that shit.
I was passing that shit, he touched it. That nigga name was Mateo.
I would have put more, but I spent like $40 on DoorDash.
What the fuck?
Damn, on DoorDash,
You
nigga?
so fucking fat.
What the fuck are you buying?
Bullshit.
Cause bro, I got 2 of the General Chickens, the big boxes from the Chinese spot, 2 plates of fried rice, bro, and then I doubled down and told them niggas go to 7-Eleven to get me a big Coke. I got 2 of them bitches too.
Yo, thanks, Janelle.
Ellie.
Now a decent position. He's given it away.
Oh, Janelli.
But that
Yeah,
Chinese
got
food
you
don't be
down.
cheap.
Physical play.
Got Mr. J Breezo. Hold on, let me.
And they knew that I secretly, and they knew.
He can't say death to Anton, and he can't be in proximity of firing off on Slimmy.
Okay, but what if they knew that I'm blackmailing you? I'm blackmailing you. I'm blackmailing you. I'm blackmailing you. I'm blackmailing you. I'm blackmailing
Wait, okay, hold on. 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 Why is there an echo? Why is there an echo? There's a goddamn echo. There's a goddamn echo. There's a goddamn echo. There's a goddamn. Okay, I think I fixed it. Hold on now. Hold on now. Hold on now. Alright, I fixed it. Alright, I fixed it. But I can still hear myself though. I don't know how that working. But I'm gonna just play a couple games. I'm only gonna be on for an hour though. I ain't gonna be here for that long though. Damn, mic all up in my shit. God. Hold on, I need to turn up my mic in here though. How do I do? Oh, okay, it's already up to the max though. Yeah. Is it? Why is it not playing? damn. Oh, yo. I think...
James against MP. It's stolen by Wembanyama. It's stolen by Wembanyama. To the paint. To the paint. Sohan, pass to Wembanyama. And Mitchell Robinson picks up the foul.
No, this is over.
Two for him.
No, this is over. And these countries know that. And these countries know that. Countries know that. And these countries know that. Countries know that. And these countries definitely do. Definitely do. Because we don't. Every time we don't. It never fails. Every time we don't. It never fails. Every time we don't. It never fails.
It's the same thing that I would do for you, and you would do for me.
What if they're in bed with each other, though? I don't think they necessarily have us by the balls. I think we've always worked together. I think we've
Okay, what do we
worked
benefit?
together.
What do we benefit? What do we benefit from helping this country so far over?
Let's use a better example. Quentin crashes out sometimes. Quentin times people out in chat sometimes. Quentin blocks people sometimes. Quentin calls people bitches sometimes. Guess what? Nobody can tell me anything about Quentin. I'm going to say, Quentin, come on, man. Please don't time niggas out. And then when Quentin was more upset at the fact that the chat voted to remove his wrench, that I had to get his wrench back so he wouldn't have a pity party. Quentin still has wrench powers to time niggas out. What am I gonna do? Right? It reminds me of Goodfellas. Remember when the guy went and was complaining that Nikki was out here terrorizing terrorizing his restaurant, and he was like, "What are you gonna do? I got a bad kid." You know what I'm saying? He's a good guy, but he fucks up some shit sometimes. What am I gonna do? I can't go against Quentin because Quentin is my dog. It just is what it is. It just is what it is. Nobody can say anything about Quentin.
I think that's the problem though. Because we let them get away with too much, man. We bail them out too often, man. Like then you gotta think. I ain't gonna get into that though. I ain't gonna get into all the shit that go on in this country. I know everything about loyalty. Don't ever type that dumb shit again. We talking about something totally different. We talking about going to war with two different countries. You sound stupid as fuck. Talking about loyalty. The U.S. is loyal to a fault to the wrong fucking people, to the wrong motherfuckers.
What if
I'm
they
gonna
bail
say that
us out,
straight
though,
up.
Slimmy? What if it's
How
the
can
other
they
way
bail us
around?
out? How can they bail us out?
They created the banking system.
This is the banking system that was already put in place, and see. Okay, let's go. Let's do this. So why every time
We gotta wrap this up after this one.
Why every time somebody tries to break away from that banking system, they get smoked?
Because if you own the currency, why would you not want to keep people using
You got to answer the question.
currency? Why
That's
would you
not-
not
that's-
want to keep the control? Why would you
That's not
not want
answering
to
it.
keep? I'm
You
just
got to answer
saying,
the
but
question.
like if you understand, if at one
It's not.
point they were loaning money to a king and they stopped loaning money to the king and instead they loaned the money to the land, that way they were guaranteed to get their money back from the people.
Nope. I need you to answer that.
They
I
have
need you
been
to answer
bailing
that.
our politicians out.
Why every
Otherwise, they wouldn't
time?
have.
Why every time somebody tries to get away from this banking system, they get smoked, including one of our own presidents. Why every
Because it's
time?
making the entire system run.
What?
They've been funding wars for centuries. They've been funding wars on both sides for centuries. They've been in control of the money and the money supply and the banking system. And if we take the gold from other countries and we bring it here to protect it in Texas or wherever, it's all a business, Slimmy. You have to, and it's been this way for centuries. That's the problem. This ain't
Okay,
new.
so
You can't just undo something that's been done for
you
centuries.
definitely can try something new. You definitely can try something new. You don't got to keep being in somebody's pocket. But my question is, what I'm saying
The
is,
only new thing we can
wait,
try is a
hold on,
bartering
Molly.
system where we don't include money, period, and you
Hold
just
on. No,
barter
that's
and
not true.
trade. That's it. That's
That-
the only way you can get
That's
out of their system.
that's not true. But the thing is, what I asked is, why are you eliminating? You smoked anybody who stands up against that. Why you gotta kill them?
Because you have to keep control.
But wait. But these aren't your countries.
What do you mean?
This isn't happening in your country. This is in other countries. In other
Which other
countries.
countries?
Molly.
I'm just asking for more
I just told
context.
you right here in the United States.
Because we held a lot of the gold. We have the Federal Reserve. We have the US is an empire, but we're also baby England. So if you go back in New England and how we were founded and da 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 da, nothing much has changed. We're just finally seeing that the system is becoming outdated. It's always been like this. We just have a problem with it because we have more information than anybody from the past. So I mean, what are you gonna do? Like that, I understand what you're saying, I really do, but at the same time, nobody is ready to be done with the banking system. They own everything. They influence everything. What you gonna do?
All right, y'all. We got to go ahead and get to the next thing. Let me read some of the super chats, and then we're gonna go on from there. All right. Chris
I had a
Cool
15-minute
says,
soliloquy that I wanted to go on that y'all didn't let me get off.
You
So
said
maybe
what
next
now?
time. I had like a 15-minute soliloquy about all this that I wanted to go on, but maybe
"Oh,
next
go
time.
ahead."
I have
Go
one
ahead.
too, Quentin.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm just,
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm good. I don't want to talk about this for another. I don't want to talk about this for another 2 hours.
Okay, we got it. Can't take Trump seriously. It's always something with him. Puppet, says Chris Cool. Magnetar says, thank you, Slimmy. Finally, someone said it. By the way, let's all make USA job accounts. King Sunny says, in Iran funding Hamas, they started the war on October 7th. Chris Cool says it's an extraction agenda from agenda. I don't know what the little icon is.
Yeah, what is that?
They pushing. I think it shows on YouTube differently. KL says, Slimmy, the CCP been developing biochemical weapons for years, my friend. So I don't think you are off one bit. Romy Rome 93 says, AD, you do be the main one talking about staying out of proxy wars. Julius Jermaine says, Slimmy, did you ever register to vote? Killer Bang says, APAC-backed politicians are the only ones that support Israel. So Antone is right. It's Queen to you too says, it's being reported that Neera Tanden testified today. She is authorized to use Biden's auto pen from 1021 to 523 for document signing. Buckle up. Amerigo says Republican Thomas Massey, every Republican member of Congress has an APAC babysitter. Rico says the small caps definitely playing puppet master. Courtney Smith says actually Kamala does support Israel. She's paid more than Trump from APAC. It might be worse if Kamala had been president. Anton watch Europa. The Last Bathe, 11-hour documentary. You can forget it, Q&A. I ain't never watched no 11-hour documentary. Amerigo says over 57,000 starving Gazans, women and children bombed with U.S. taxpayer dollars. The world hates us. Nitty77 says, AD Slimmy is correct. You clearly don't know the whole history behind the Middle East. Another nigga just saying shit. Go do your research. G-Lock says it's all good until the deer gets a fire stick. Rage King Leo says the war was staged. All three sides wanted to look good. Papa Free says, what point in history did Iran become terrorists? High Tolerance says, in other words, U.S. is Cain and Israel is O-Dog. That's a good one. Rage King Leo says thought was MAGA, not MEGA. King Sunny says Israel don't run a banking system. The anti-Jews propaganda Why did they type it like that? Pushed by far right, aka neo-Nazi. Courtney Smith says, to Sunny's point, Muammar Gaddafi was smoked for attempting to leave the system. Shout out to Sir Dr. Mr. says, I think Trump is worse for this Iran situation because he's the only one who convinced the same base that voted for no new wars to go to a useless foreign war. I know no one in this chat would support if Harris was in the exact same situation. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you for the 50 ball and for supporting the platform. McDyke says Western interference is the main cause of all of this. Iran wanted their own oil, but U.S. and U.K. says no and had a coup. That's the resentment people have with the United States of America. Carrington Love Jr. says, I stayed up late to see my girl, Island Girl Q, when she ain't even show. Come on, babe. What do you mean? She don't know.
Last night.
Oh, you talking about last night. Mom says, I need 2K to come speak that pimp gospel he was preaching earlier. Men are not meant to work for women, but for himself, his society as a whole, and God. Always only report above God, man, woman, and child. They call me Mr. Biz says, look up petrodollar. You will understand why we are always at war. Bob Brown says, AD play DL Hughley crashing out on TMZ. We can talk about that a little later if y'all want to talk about that. Coach says, what up, panel? Hi, Aunt Carrie. Legally Shay says, great comments. Poppy, I lost my phone. Shit. What the fuck is going on?
That sucks.
Me University says 1,000 years ago, a system was put in place to where certain families could stay in power. Despite wars, U.S. is the elite bulldog and the number one consumer. Thank y'all, everybody, for supporting the platform. We appreciate y'all, but we have to move on to the next conversation. I will continue to read Super Chats throughout the show. So, B. Simone has been in the news a lot. And I wasn't even going to cover this personally, but I thought it would be interesting to have as a conversation on the panel. B. Simone is kind of under fire for two things. The first one is she's really three things, because people, it seems like, don't like B. Simone. But the first thing that she's under fire for is saying that she was going broke or something like that. I did see the clip, but I didn't want to have that a part of this. The second thing that she was going under fire for was her response or her sentiment to her friend being successful. I'll explain it in a second. So let me go ahead and share with you guys exactly what happened, or the clip. I was able to find it in its entirety instead of having it chopped up. And so this is what happened.
God is going to bring that back tenfold. You like jealous? Yeah. Will it happen again?
Recent podcast. What up, 2K? How you feel, big dog?
What's up with it, brother?
Chilling. So what are your thoughts about everything that people are saying about B. Simone, the things that she said? I don't know if y'all actually watched any of that, but that was a quick clip of it. What are y'all thoughts about B. Simone, bro?
Who is B. Simone? I don't know.
B. Simone is like a comedian / content creator. I think she was on Wild 'N Out for a while. Then she went and created her own platform. And so she's just like kind of a person that kind of blew up in the movement of content creation and all of that other type of stuff. But I believe that she is like, she's started and stopped different podcasts and stuff like that, but she has a pretty decent sized following. At one point she kind of transitioned into, or right now she's trying to transition into the whole spiritual thing. Hey, it's on God. I don't want to be in the streets no more. I'm waiting for my husband type of stuff and all of that type of stuff. So
you said, what are our thoughts about what people are saying? Like, what are people saying about her?
They just responded negatively to her. They responded negatively to everything that she's saying that she shouldn't have responded like that, all of that type of stuff.
I didn't like the energy that they was giving B. Simone, bro, for not helping her friend. Cause Anton, you can speak specifically to this. Nobody helped you, but everybody is entitled to your money. And like on one of Meek Mill verses, Meek Mill say, never count another person's pocket thinking that you deserve it. And that's exactly what this is. You was looking at my finances thinking you deserved it, but wasn't looking at the risks I take, the mouths I feed, the bills I pay. You just know I'm a millionaire. And You think when something bad happened to you, your millionaire friend's supposed to bail you out. Anton, how many people have you bailed out on this stage?
On that I know from content?
Yeah, like on this stage, just in general. Because you are a millionaire friend.
But I don't want to get into that. I don't want to.
But I'm saying though, like, I can't not pay my rent and think that you supposed to cover down because you a millionaire. And that's
but
the energy
I would definitely send you the bag.
I wouldn't ask you.
But it doesn't matter. If I found out, I would absolutely send you the bag.
I mean, I don't think she done nothing wrong. I really think that that's abuse, friendship abuse. Like me counting your money for you. Yes. Anton a fucking millionaire. He'll never hear about one of my bills. Not one time. Cause that's not why he my friend. I'm not for to be counting his bag for me. That's bad friendship.
That's not what she was under fire for, though.
What's she talking about with money? Counting money, huh?
She was under fire for a lot. So her friend was saying in the last 12 months, she had to move back in with her mom. She became a single mom, had to go on food stamps, like all these other things. And I think that the reason that it hurt her so badly is because she said she saw B. Simone doing for other people. So it's not like she wasn't giving money away. She just wasn't giving it to her friend. And I think it's one thing if you're, let's say you're a millionaire, granted, you can do whatever you want to do with your money. But it's one thing if you're a millionaire and you are hoarding your money, but if you're just giving it away to people on the street, but you're watching your best friend suffer and you're just like, I hope that works out for you.
But I got a lot of trouble for saying there's beauty in suffering.
So there was another clip because that's okay.
Oh, so they want the clip?
So that friend is the one who was homeless?
Yeah.
So now she's making money, like, because should we be playing another clip in time?
I'm confused. I don't know what the fuck.
I gotta find it. I gotta
find it. Talking about something else.
I thought that was the clip. I was talking on mute because Sarah had called me. I thought that was the clip. My fault.
That's all.
What's the timestamp? When I find a timestamp, I'll go into it. I didn't see that. I gotta find a timestamp because it don't have no.
Hey, this nigga was locked and loaded on the whole.
I'm so missing.
Hey, cuz you gotta have this shit ready, right? You never know.
was ready to go. Hold up.
Here, somebody just sent me a timestamp. I'm gonna see if that's it. I'm gonna just play it real quick. Give me a second. Let me throw it up on the screen.
Yeah, so it said, I'm like, you watching your friend go down and you'll give money to the people around her and just watch her go? Like that looks real.
I'm your friend, but I'm not gonna be your baby daddy.
No, I feel like today I was weeping in prayer. I was like, God, help me.
I woke up. That was my alarm this morning.
I can't believe you heard me.
Oh, I woke up and you were like going at it. Jazz called and she's like, where's Braylon? Like, we have a phone call. I was like, baby, it's going to be another 30 minutes. She is in there wailing.
Wow.
Yeah, you were gone. I was like, I'm not going in there knocking on the door because she's in her bag right now.
Wow. All I kept saying was, help me, Jesus, help me, Jesus, help me, Jesus. Help me fight spiritually. Help me fight. So I feel like my answer is in what is happening in the spiritual realm. I feel like I am attacking something that I can't see right now.
Wow.
Bro, oh my God, bro. Hoes always want to goddamn avoid accountability, bro. Her ass talking about I'm fighting something in the spiritual realm. I'm fighting something in the astral projection. Like, no, you're not. You're just making less money than you did, and now you're just feeling like. Now you feeling like the hurt. You have to go back and live with your mom. You have to like make some sacrifices, stop spending money on certain stuff. That's all it is. Like, bro, she's just making less money than she did. B. Simone is not going broke. All she's doing is making less money. I don't know why all of a sudden it's like she's trying to make an excuse, like she's talking about some fighting in the spiritual realm type thing. Like, what? You're just making less money than you did. There is nothing wrong. What is with all this fighting in the spiritual realm? not taking accountability, like you're just making less money than you did. Blowing it out of proportion.
What I feel like. That's what I feel like.
I know.
You
He
feel
just
like you're
sent-
attacking
I don't know why
something
they
you
keep
can't
telling me
see.
that this is a timestamp. Let me see if I can scrub through real quick. Give me a second.
It definitely was the topic. I thought that it was the trending topic of this
Give me
whole
a second.
interview.
I'll find it. I'm gonna find it. Give me a
Well,
second.
that first part, she sounded terrible. I ain't gonna lie.
We could just talk about that, Anton.
I mean, and then just think if you add those two parts together. So one, you watch your best friend suffer. Two, she's starting to come up and she's like, "Oh, I got this great opportunity," and you're just like, "Oh." Like it just looks absolutely insane.
It's not though, because if that's like when Anton tell me, bro, I just got off live with blah blah blah. Oh, it's just my successful homeboy being successful.
Right, but this girl was
No,
not.
it was the reverse role. It was the reverse.
Right. This girl was struggling to
Yeah.
live on her own, to take care of her kids. She said she got her car repossessed and all that kind of stuff. And this is all within the last 12 months. So she starts to come up. She tells you about this good opportunity that she's getting. And your response is, "Oh." I think that's weird. I mean, at the very least, for her, I'd be happy that she's putting her life back together.
I think a lot of women are frenemies, though.
Facts.
Like a lot of
I
women can
found
be
it.
friends.
I found it. All right. I had to scrub through it and find it. Give me a second. So this is it right here.
I mean, this was the hardest season of my life this last year. And sometimes when the public perception is like being a best friend with a celebrity, everybody thinks that, oh, because you're connected to this person, then your life is just as grand as theirs, or you got
it, or they helping you.
Baby, when I tell you, didn't have a job, living with my parents, a single mom, all this happened to me this past year.
Jesus.
And then it's like to not have resentment in my heart towards you because I saw you do this for other people. I saw you give a check to somebody to help them through whatever they went through. And it's like, God, like I love from that's my soul. And I can't get nobody didn't give me a handout, but guess what? That wasn't your responsibility. God had to take me through that for my own season, for my own thing. I had to get my car repossessed.
Jesus.
I had to go through the food stamps line. I had to be on Medicaid. Because I'm building my story too. But it's like, as a friend somebody who has it, it's hard to digest because everybody around you, nobody would ever, they're probably shocked that I'm even saying this right now. All this year.
In less than 12 months.
What?
There's the clip. So I had to go find it. And that's the clip that I think that everybody is talking about. There you go.
That is the clip. Bro, I just don't think that I don't give a fuck. As your bestie, I don't care. My job as your bestie is not to bail you out financially because guess what? I'm gonna have to do it next month and the month after. I'm gonna talk to you. I'm gonna help you through it, but I won't do the work. The work, the lesson from the work is what you need to be taken from me. I don't care if I got the million. I'm like B. Simone, Jesus. And if you giving me some pussy, I'm gonna say, damn, that's crazy. That's all that is. If that girl called me and tell me about all her bills, I'm texting her back. Damn, that's crazy. What you want me to do?
You gotta throw her something, but you don't have to say.
No, I
her
don't.
life.
You know why I don't gotta
That's
throw
your
her nothing?
bestie, though. That's your
Molly,
bestie.
nobody
Something.
threw me nothing.
Something to keep the baby comfortable.
I grew from it. Kimmy, I grew. When I overcame that situation, it showed me that I can overcome the situation over and over and over. If Anton give me some, next time I need some, I'm not gonna know how to do. I'm gonna go back to Anton. You got to go through this shit on your own.
I'm gonna save my comments on this one till last. I want to hear what y'all gonna say.
Jesus.
You a man though. That's how y'all kind of have to move.
No,
it's not so bad if you a woman supporting another woman, but just because you my bestie, I'm not about to finance your lifestyle because you picked the wrong nigga.
Listen, if you my woman, that's different. If you they girl, that's different. Business don't give a fuck about gender. Business is not gender specific. I don't care that you is a struggling woman. This is a business. Get your shit together.
But here's the thing: you don't know why she ended up where she ended up, right?
I don't care because this is a business.
Wrong man.
You could say, okay, she made bad decisions, but let's just say she was married, she had this child, her husband gets killed, he was paying all the bills, she was a stay-at-home mom, so now she has no job, she's a single mom, she's moving in with her parents, now she's on food stamps. You telling me you can sit there and watch that happen and be like, I'll give money to the person next door to you, but not to you, my best friend.
As your neighbor, as your boyfriend, as somebody from the community, I will help you. You telling me about your problem, about your business, I don't give a fuck about. I ask my wife. Listen, bro, I do not help my wife in her business. That is up to her. I will help her when she proves it to me. I'm basically her investor, but I don't give her shit because she's my wife when it comes to business. Now, when she needs something for her day-to-day life, baby, here you go. But when it comes to business, you got to show me that you are a business person. I don't care
about the business. She was looking for the everyday.
She was looking for a fucking handout. That's what she was looking for, a handout, and all she got was a Jesus.
She said her friend is not responsible for her, so she wasn't looking for a handout. But I think to be a friend and to watch your friends suffer like that, and to just do absolutely nothing when you can and you do for strangers, is just weird.
What is it? If I'm a business and I want to donate to some fucking children, and I have made enough money to donate to mind your business. That's why your shit failing, because you trying to keep up with my pockets.
This is how man brain and women brain is different.
This is a business brain. Fuck the gender.
That typically is more masculine because women are more empathetic.
Business.
What you say?
When did she say, I'm looking for your business to do something for me? I'm looking for you to hire me. She's like, I'm looking
for a handout.
I'm looking for you to be here as my friend. And even when she's getting back on her feet and she calls and says, hey, I got this great opportunity, your response is still lackadaisical.
Hey, Tom, pull that girl picture up. She got all that pussy to sell. Don't tell me about shit. Pull her fine there. You see that little fine shit right there? You can get about $400-500 for her. Don't tell me about your fucking car note. You ain't did the work. If you won't sell it, don't tell it. I don't care to hear. You're not even willing to die about your situation. Get your fine ass on your back. Show me you want this shit.
Yo.
You gonna drip or drown.
Wow.
I want to be like these women all on these podcasts. I am not rich. If y'all ever see me struggling, just know I ain't rich. It's normal. I don't ever want to.
You
just a normal Joe.
I want to hear everybody's perspective on this before I even comment.
I'll say this: that ain't her friend. I'm just gonna straight up say that ain't her friend. I'm sorry. It's not how friends move. Like, nah, it ain't crazy. Cause if I tell my homeboy I done came up like that, and he just like, oh, blocked. I ain't fucking with you. Like, that's some sucker shit. Like, nigga,
you kill my pockets thinking that you want some and sucker shit.
Bruh, nobody talking about
your problems and sucker shit.
You missing it. You missing it. You missing it. Stop skipping steps and stop adding things that nobody said. We talking about her reaction when this woman said she brought herself up from nothing. Your response is, oh, hell no. I don't fuck with nobody like that.
Yeah,
like,
I'm glad that we played both clips because both clips kind of show the sentiment in the relationship that they have. On one clip, which the one that showed first, actually, she was saying that B. Simone wasn't necessarily happy for her when she had got some good news. All right. On the other clip, she was saying that she was going through some shit, but she kind of was like, you know, paying attention, like, damn, you know, you doing all of this for these people, but I'm the one your day one. But it's okay because I don't feel like you owe me anything in order to get me through it because I had to go through this to get to where I go through. So that's the full context of both clips kind of put together. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, and there was no sentiment at all. Even after all that, B. Simone still wasn't just like, damn, you know what, girl, you did do that. Congratulations. I ain't even. Like what? Like nothing.
Maybe she's jealous she had a baby. Women get weird like that.
Nah. You
Someone
can't. Don't
wants
shoot
a
her no
man and
bell.
some
Don't shoot her
kids,
no
and her
bell.
friend is having a baby. Women
Nah,
just
don't
get
shoot her
weird
no
like that,
bell. That
though.
is not your friend.
I
That is
know,
not
I
your
agree.
friend.
I said women
So
can be frenemies, though. We're okay knowing that we're not really friends, but we'll still be friends.
so because I didn't have an emotional reaction to you
It's not an
prospering,
emotional reaction.
because
Nobody
I didn't
said
have
that.
a reaction besides
No,
Jesus.
no,
I,
no.
so Anton told me he make $1 million today. You want me to dance? Do my little happy dance for Anton?
Man, bro, why is it gotta be something extreme?
It's
Why
not.
are you going to the extreme?
Listen, when she told B. Simone, what is the correct reaction, Slimmy?
You could have clapped. You could do anything. You could say anything. You could do anything. You could say anything. She said,
Bullshit.
"Oh, so
She's
are you gonna?
Jesus.
do that?
Oh, 2K. I done seen you. I done seen you on this panel give up more props to somebody than that."
Because
She
I was
said,
proud of that
"Oh,
nigga. But I don't have to do that.
we're not talking about what you have to do. We talking about your homegirl just sat here and poured her heart out to you about what she came up on, how she came up. You sitting on a platform with her and you still didn't acknowledge that shit.
gives
That
a
ain't your
fuck?
fucking friend.
Listen,
That's all we talking about. They ain't friends, my nigga.
Slimmy, let me show you. When Anton showed us how much he made in a month, I got excited because it was genuinely exciting to me. Q Diddy didn't bust a fucking move. That don't mean that Q Diddy not his friend. Q Diddy was happy too. He just don't care to show it. Am I a bad friend because I don't show it?
You got it, bro.
I know I do.
This sad, man. I can see it with your homeboys, but with women, you know that should be different. But that's why I always say women are horrible friends. They're horrible friends, man. I'm sorry. They are just horrible friends. They are fickle creatures. They can't get right.
I feel personally that I have an obligation. I know I don't owe anybody, and I know that nobody feels as though I owe them anything. But I also feel an obligation to make sure that my friends win if I'm winning. I personally, and this is me personally, I'm not saying that anything is wrong with 2K is saying. I understand 100% what 2K is saying. At the same time, I believe that it's necessary for me to make sure that everybody that I help, and it's not even just about like, because let's be clear, let's be very, very clear. I believe that you guys more than pull your weight. I believe that y'all are absolutely contributing to the success of what we do here. So it's not like it's one-sided. You know what I'm saying? I don't ever feel as though, yeah, I did all of this as far as what we're building over here on this platform. And so I believe that in the same way that y'all pour into me, it's important for me to do my best to make sure that everybody else is successful also. And I think that that's what makes us great together, is because we truly want to see each other win. You know what I'm saying? So, but I do feel the need, I do feel pressure to make sure that I create the space for us to be able to really, really get there. So it just is what it is.
I don't know.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, you got. I love to hear Carrie talk. Please.
I think that I'm only gonna go from what I saw. I don't know any other backstory or anything like that. But from what I saw, I think we saw a genuine friendship. I think that we saw a conversation between two people who, like the clip with B. Simone saying that she was just like, oh, when her friend got, all the good news. I thought that was just she was just being honest. And she clearly knew that there was something wrong with what her knee-jerk expression was. So she called her friend back. And I think now I don't know if she apologized for it, because I didn't hear her say like, I called you back and apologized. She said, I called you back and said I didn't feel good about that. But I think the fact that she was able to call her back and they were able to talk through it, and her friend was able to help talk her through it, to me, that's real friendship. And sometimes you got to work through that. Like I have definitely had to work through feelings of coveting and envy and jealousy many a times in my adult life. And it wasn't until I could call it out to myself that I could really start dealing with it. And, you know, some people are like, I don't care what people got. I don't care about other people's lives. If that's not your fight, that's not your battle, that's wonderful. But for some people, that's a real thing.
See, Kim, that was my problem. When she said that word, she said, I had to fight back resentment for you. That, to me, that indicted her.
That was a right thing for her to feel, right? So I do like that she acknowledged it and she, you know, said what it was. But
that reaction
to me, go ahead.
No, that reaction is unnatural. That's the reaction of a hater. That show me your entitlement to my hard work.
And here's the thing. All of that might be true. That might, if that's how you label it, that's cool. But regardless of, clearly that is what she honestly felt. And I think as a friend, I mean, I can't stop my feeling before it comes, purely because I love you and I shouldn't feel that way. Like if I feel a negative feeling towards a person I love or like, I'm gonna feel it and then I have to deal with it. And I think that B. Simone felt what she felt, realized, yo, this isn't right, and she is now dealing with it. And I think it's a blessing that she has a friend who she can talk about it with. Now, here's the other thing. And again, this is just my perspective on when you do decide. I know some people clowned her for saying that she really is working on her relationship with God, and some people might think it's content or whatever. But again, I'm taking everything at face value. So assuming that that's true, I personally believe that when God draws you to him, you're going to have to face a lot of yourself that needs to change. You're going to have to go through and look at you for all of who you
I saw the Trump with Israel and Iran, right?
Mm-hmm.
I saw the
part
leader under me, kind of like stay here and work. That's the commitment that I'm looking for.
Yeah, I seen that part too. I did see that part of the show also.
And that I don't, you know, from what you're saying, again, this might be a part of based off of this. I thought friendship was based off of that. Counts, dynamics have changed and all of that. So she
peace. I made a tweet about this, but the long story short is, you know, Trump is trying to get a Nobel Peace Prize here. And realistically speaking, though he is getting a ceasefire brokered, it's not going to end the conflict at all. You know, anyone that understands how long this conflict's been going on, we're talking about, you know, 3 to 4 decades now at this point since the Iranian Revolution, understands that this is just a temporary ceasefire until, you know, both parties can kind of replenish themselves and engage in warfare again. And the big reason why is because Israel miscalculated Iran's ability to destroy them. And what I mean by this is Iran has a very sophisticated ballistic missile program. Israel does have, you know, competent air defense with the Sling and the Iron Dome and the Arrow. But the problem is that for every missile that Israel needs to shoot to intercept an Iranian missile coming in, it costs them significantly more money to defend themselves than it costs for Iran to attack them. So in the battle of attrition, had it went longer, you know, we're talking about Tel Aviv and Haifa getting completely leveled and destroyed. And, you know, it's interesting because Western media didn't really document the damage that was done in Tel Aviv or in Haifa. But the Iranians absolutely did do a significant amount of damage. I mean, they were shooting hypersonic missiles over there, which can't be stopped by these air defense. You know, they did quite a bit of damage. But the thing is that a lot of people don't know this. There was a blackout thing put in place by the Israeli government where the press could not take video or pictures of the damage because that would allow the Iranians to get more precise coordinates so they can be more accurate with their next attack. So Israel had like a big censorship program that they were pushing where they didn't want the journalists and the media to publish. Obviously, video still got out there, etc., but they were suppressing it. Now, with that said, I do want to say also that Israel did a very good job of damaging Iran's capability to defend themselves as well. They ran a Mossad operation behind enemy lines. They were able to go ahead and destroy a good amount of their air defense, jam radars, launch drone attacks. So they did a significant amount of damage to Iran as well. But if we were, the longer the battle would have played out in that mode where it was Israeli airstrikes followed by Iranian missiles towards Israel, Israel would have lost that fight because it cost them significantly more money to defend themselves than it cost Iran to attack them. So that's kind of the gist of why the ceasefire was brokered. And then the other thing too, also I think that's important, is like this entire conflict was because of the nuclear program that Iran has. There's there's credible info out there that Iran moved a lot of the critical infrastructure when it comes to enriching uranium to 90% and getting the weapon well before the United States attacked them. So, and I wouldn't be surprised if Iran didn't have other facilities or they didn't have a nuclear program somewhere else, maybe even in another foreign country ally where they're running their program. So, a lot of this was smoke and mirrors. A lot of this was, show of force, etc. But there's no way that the Iranians didn't move their stuff out. And assuming they did, let's assume best case scenario that the Americans and Israelis did a good job and they destroyed their nuclear infrastructure. It doesn't matter. The regime's not going to change. They have the capability to remake their nuclear program because they've mastered the uranium centrifuge cycle, and they know how to enrich uranium and get a warhead. So they can still do it. It might take them a year or two, but unless they remove the regime, which is what Israel really wants to do, they're not going to, it's just going to be a temporary ceasefire.
So you don't think that they're actually going to have a long-term peace deal that is brokered as a result of them getting a ceasefire that's in place right now?
No way. And the reason for that is because Israel wants a regime change. Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israelis will stop at nothing to get rid of the Ayatollah and try to topple the government. Now, what they were hoping when they did their operation 2 weeks ago was that they would cripple the Iranian infrastructure, the higher ups, make them panic, and then that would create the opportunity for the separatist groups within Iran to overthrow the government. But what actually happened was it backfired. The Iranian people got behind the Iranian government because even though a lot of them don't like the Iranian regime, they hate Israel more. So Israel's attempt to, divide the civilian population actually backfired because, keep in mind that when they got attacked while in the middle of diplomacy with the United States. And the attack was a sneak attack, and it was obviously very severe. So Iran took that as a very big attack against their national security. And since they were attacked first, the people rallied behind the government to defend themselves. And that is why people took to the streets after Iran was attacked and said, we need a retaliation towards Israel. And they did it within 18 hours, and they hit them pretty hard. Obviously, the media covered that, but both parties did a significant amount of damage to each other, for sure.
What do you think the long-term result is, if you had to guess, based off of what you see happening right now?
Okay, sure. So this is what's going to happen. On the Iranian side, they're going to work even harder to get a nuclear program. And the reason why is because having a nuclear bomb is going to be the only way that they could deter Israel and the United States from trying to effectuate a regime change. You look at North Korea, for example. They have a nuclear bomb, though they're enemies. Since they have a nuclear bomb, we can't really do anything to them because of mutually assured destruction, right? So I predict that the Iranians are going to work towards getting a nuclear bomb even more so now. Diplomacy, I think, is pretty much finished. Anything that does happen from a diplomacy angle is going to be feigning just to buy more time. And I think with the Israelis, they're going to, heavily leverage and lean on their intelligence assets like Mossad, Oman, etc., to try to impose a regime change from within. But I don't see that as successful because, to be able to do that, they're going to need to get boots on the ground. And we already know what happened with Iraq War, V2 in 2003. So, the Israelis want a regime change, and they're going to try to leverage their intelligence agencies to do so. They got Mossad operatives already calling people in the Iranian Guard at the high level saying, we're going to kill you if you don't, defect with the Iranian government, etc. So we'll see what happens. But that's what I predict the next two, what each party is going to do in the next few months, given the ceasefire.
What would you grade Trump as far as his job in office as of right now for the 6 months that he's been in for a second term?
the foreign policy has been bad. I'll be honest. You know, I can admit that I voted for Trump, and a big reason why I voted for.
Wait, why am I on the bench? And I done scored all them. That don't make no sense.
Was you know, I didn't want any new wars. But obviously the Zionist lobby is too powerful in America, and they push them towards this conflict. You know, anyone that tells you otherwise is just lying. And that's the problem. A lot of these political commentators on the conservative side, they're owned by the Zionist lobby. They run the media, whatever. We're on YouTube, so I'll keep it there. But, you know, when it comes to the foreign policy, you know, so he didn't negotiate the end of the conflict with Russia and Ukraine, right? And this is why he struck that mineral deal with Zelensky, because he understood that we're spending a ridiculous amount of money supporting Ukraine when they're losing. They've lost like 1 million soldiers now at this point. So he's like, you know what? If we're going to continue to support you guys, we needed to get some of the revenue from the minerals. So that's why they kind of struck that deal. We're still giving them aid because he doesn't see, you know, a conclusion to the situation within the next few years. That's why I think he brokered that mineral.
That's a longer term deal. That's hoping that we recoup, assuming that we then at some point actually end the war with Russia, right?
Absolutely. Yep. It's exactly, that's precisely what it is. It's to recoup the money that's lost so that while we continue to aid them, we don't go in the hole as bad. I guess Trump kind of underestimated how bad the situation was, thinking that he can broker peace, saying I can do it in 24 hours. You know, it's you know, Russia's winning the conflict. So the United States and Ukraine has to make a lot of concessions, and Zelensky is pretty delusional with some of his demands with Russia. And then as far as, you know, this conflict in Ukraine, I would argue that brought us back, this conflict with Iran, that brought us back a step because, you know, Iran and Russia are allies, and this is going to, you know, make it even harder for peace talks with Ukraine and Russia. So I think him even being involved with a limited sense with just bombing the nuclear sites, I still think that was a bad move towards diplomacy, not just on the Iranian front with the Middle East, but it also did set us back a bit with the Russia-Ukraine conflict as well, because right after this conflict happened, the foreign minister of Iran actually met with President Putin to discuss strategy. And whenever they say strategy, that means military, nuclear bombs, and intelligence agencies every single time.
Okay. So what's next? What do you think is next as far as like, because of course, obviously they saying that the ceasefire is holding up. It hasn't even been 24 hours, but the ceasefire is holding up so far. So
yeah,
you think
was like
that
confusion where, like, you know, I guess a rocket got across after the ceasefire, and there was a bunch of anger and stuff like that. And Trump was really pissed off this morning because they almost resumed the war. You know, I'll say this: like, Israel breaks ceasefires all the time. They did it with Lebanon and Hezbollah. They did it with Gaza and Hamas. You know, they should have been they should have been done with the conflict in Gaza, but you know, they pulled out of the ceasefire there because there was a 3-part deal with it that Trump negotiated, but Israel only completed the first part of the deal and then ignored the other ones. And, you know, that's very important to know that the Israelis typically don't negotiate for ceasefires unless they're losing or they cannot continue the warfare that it is. So the only reason they agreed to this ceasefire is because they knew the longer that the conflict would happen, Iran's missiles will start to pierce more and more into their airspace. And we're talking about the destruction of Tel Aviv and Haifa. So that's why they agreed. But I think that they're going to take this time to rebuild, get more money, replenish, and then start another conflict with Iran. There's no way at this point that they're not going to continue to push for regime change. And I think Iran on their side is going to work even harder and more aggressively to get a nuclear bomb to defend themselves, because it's very obvious now at this point that regardless, they're going to consistently say, you guys have a nuclear bomb. So they might as well get one now to actually deter, because the whole purpose of nuclear weapons isn't actually to destroy other countries. It's to show that you're capable of destroying other countries so they don't destroy you.
Yeah. Let me ask you a personal question, Myron.
Yeah.
You really in your bag when it comes to world issues, political issues. Obviously, we've seen the defense rest with the Diddy case, and so you were really engaged when it came.
I was just covering that just a second ago.
Yeah, you really involved in that. Where do you see yourself going as a content creator? Because
you left
it's
out one.
almost like,
You left out one.
What do you mean?
You left out stupid women.
Well, no, but see, that's the question that I'm asking, is because I see you continuing to evolve as a content creator, in which you're covering way more subjects, and it's almost like I see you doing a lot of in-person debates and having conversations with people that, you give the opportunity for people to be able to come up and express their thoughts, whether it become, whether it's about politics or whether it's about relationships. Where do you see yourself evolving into as far as a content creator?
That's a good question. I've thought about this. I think for me, I think being diversified is really the best way to avoid stagnation. Many know that I used to work in law enforcement, which is why I, have the interest that I have when it comes to criminal cases, especially at the federal level. I mean, hell, the people that are running the case against Diddy right now is the agency I used to work for. So I'm very familiar with, the way they do their investigations and the squad that ran the case and everything like that. And then on the other side, right, I'm really interested in, politics and, foreign affairs, especially when it comes to the Middle East, because my thing is I'm a hardcore American patriot, right? I'm a very big nationalist. I think, America's the best country in the world. And, I love this country. I've served this country, put my life on the line for this country. And I think for us to address some of the problems, I think one of the biggest problems we have in America is that we are occupied by a foreign government that runs our foreign policy. And for people to understand this properly, you must understand Middle Eastern foreign politics, because once you understand Middle Eastern foreign politics, then you can understand how our country is being subverted for the bidding of another government. I saw someone in your chat said that I'm an Islamist. No, I'm just a realist and a pragmatist. And the problem is that in Western media and in American media, up until recently, we haven't been told this information, or we haven't been told the truth about how our foreign policy really works. And the reality is that our foreign policy is run by a small group of people that have ulterior motives that might not necessarily be America first. A lot of people like to say, oh, I'm an America first, America first. I'll take it a step further. I'm America only. And when I say that, I mean, we need to have a 100% non-foreign conflict involvement with our foreign policy, where we're only involved in international trade and things from a peaceful perspective. No more foreign wars. And if you look at all the wars that we've had, especially with this war on terror, there's one common denominator, and it's the state of Israel. So that's kind of what I've prided myself on with when it comes to politics, is kind of talking about this a bit more and educating the American public on this, because it's been suppressed for so long. And I think there's, a very important distinction that needs to be made, that, this isn't necessarily a Jewish problem. This is a Zionist problem and an occupation problem of our government. And it's very important to be precise and be able to identify the real problem versus having this collective punishment ideology of let's go after an entire people. When in reality, a lot of the Zionists are evangelical Christians. There's a lot of Jewish people that are, that talk about these problems, like Max Blumenthal, Glenn Greenwald, comic Dave Smith, Norman Finkelstein. These guys are all Jewish, and they've been speaking about the atrocity that are going on with our foreign policy. So I think it's very important to be very specific and talk about certain topics and talk about it in a way where you can educate the people and give them a different perspective on that. So that's those are some of my interests and kind of why I go into them. Obviously, the true crime stuff, because what I used to do, the foreign policy, because it's something that we don't educate the American public about more. I think a lot of Americans don't know what their government is doing with our tax dollars and doing a bunch of bullshit. And then, obviously, debating the women, that's something that I do all the time as well, too, because something that a lot of guys can identify with, right, with the fuckery of modern women. So, yeah.
Do you ever lose interest in dealing with or debating women?
It does get monotonous at times because it ends up becoming the same typical debate. But, every time I do it and I get annoyed, I remind myself that there's someone that's probably seeing this for the first time, that's probably being exposed to these concepts for the first time. So, so some people might say it's redundant. I think it's very important because there's more guys waking up every single day, right? A new guy is Googling how to get back my girlfriend, or why did she leave me, or why did I get divorced, or why did she cheat on me? There's a new guy Googling that every single day. And they find content like mine, find content like yours, and we provide the answers to these guys because, unfortunately, this is a big problem for a lot of men. And I predict as social media becomes more advanced, as we become more and more attached to our phones, as online dating and social media becomes more and more prominent as a way to meet people, this problem is only going to be exacerbated. It's going to get worse because, unfortunately, when you go on the internet and you use dating apps or you use Instagram, whatever, that puts the ball in the women's court, right? Because the men are the ones approaching them. And what ends up happening is a majority of men just end up becoming invisible to a majority of women, right? And I've kind of figured this out from years of talking to different women. We've talked to almost 4,000 women now. The startling reality that I'm starting to see as I talk to more and more women, especially, women that are 18, 19, younger women, is the average man no longer qualifies for the average woman, right? I meet girls, they're average, nothing special about them, you know, typical background, etc. But when I ask them, what do you want in return? They're expecting an exceptional man, right? And I do think a big part of this is because of the social media climate, the internet, the ease of meeting people. All of this is kind of increase women's standards without them necessarily reciprocating on their end and becoming exceptional women. They want exceptional men while bringing an average, you know, individual to the relationship.
Let me ask you one more question. This whole B. Simone conversation, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but a lot of it is tied around her responsibility, so to speak, or people's perception of her responsibility to actually help her friend who was not necessarily as financially well off as her. As a person that kind of leads a platform in which you employ multiple different people, you know, when you kind of had the responsibility of making sure that people get paid and stuff like that, how do you feel about the whole responsibility as a person that is a leader or is generating a lot of revenue to help friends out or to put people on or to make sure that other people are successful also? Like, how do you feel about that whole sentiment and what other people believe is the responsibility of a person that is a breadwinner?
Yeah, I think it's your duty. You know, one of the things that I've like really been big on is, you know, obviously when I got my start on YouTube in the red pill space with you know, certain YouTubers, you know, as Fresh Fit became bigger and bigger and became a bit more mainstream and kind of got out of that, you know, single red pill niche. One of the things we've prided ourselves on is we bring those guys that helped us get put on and grow our channel in the early stages. We like to bring them back on the show and expose them to our more mainstream audience that they might have otherwise not been able to get exposed to. And I look at that as kind of, I call it retracting the ladder back, where the people that helped you get up, you don't you don't retract the ladder, rather you keep the ladder there so they can come up and you help them up. You know, I'm real big on that, right? I've brought a lot of people on that, you know, for the first time they're getting out in front of a mainstream audience, but I think that that's kind of my duty, where if we make it, the people that helped us get there, we should bring them up too. Now, I know some people, they'll make it and then they'll retract the ladder, right? And then they won't let those people come up with them because they want to be the star. I think that's a very bad way to move, because what ends up happening is you basically say, oh, I can't bring them up because they're going to be too powerful and I'll lose my influence. No, bring them up and then let the better man win. But a lot of people don't have that foresight. You know, they kind of look at it like, oh, I made it, they helped me, but I'm not going to bring that up. So that's my take on it. I do think that if you're the guy where a bunch of people are around you and they helped you get to that position, I think it's treacherous to not help them and bring them up alongside you. Because honestly, I look at it like, as you go up, the likelihood of you being backstabbed is going to go higher and higher and higher. Because as you make more money and you become more famous and you reach different plateaus, the people that you meet, they typically got there through some, you know, snakery. So it's best, if anything, to take the people with you that started with you and bring them up, because at least you know where their loyalty lies. And then when you win, they win by default. So I think if anything, it's better to bring your people up with you than go ahead and try to create a new infrastructure with people that haven't been vetted.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think it's a burden that comes along with that a lot of people don't understand, but I think it's a healthy burden. I think it's just a manly thing, honestly. I don't think that that's a sentiment that a lot of women truly understand. I think that a lot of times women look at it as a competition with their friends, versus actually spending more time trying to cultivate and create a network or, you know, an environment where everybody else can thrive a lot of times. So.
Now, this is going to be a controversial take, but I'll say it anyway. I don't think women have the capability of the same loyalty as men, and I'll explain what I mean by this. So the women's psyche is a psyche of extracting resources. And what I mean by this from a biological sense, right? Like, obviously we're in modern society. Women can make their own money. Women can go ahead and fend for themselves, etc. Great. We understand that in modern society. However, the reality is women are still physically inferior to men. Women are still smaller than men, weaker than men, etc. So there's still primitive biological traits within their mind that dictate the way they behave. So for example, men, we don't need to see other men with our women to know that our woman's attractive. We have the ability to look her up and down. I find her attractive. Cool. I don't need social proof to be attracted to her. Women don't operate that way. They see a guy, if he's by himself, oh, he's maybe handsome, but if he's there with 5 girls, oh, who is this guy? I kind of want to get to know him. So women make a lot of their decisions based off of the herd and the social dynamics, right? This is why men that have social status that are ugly are still able to get very attractive women, but it might not necessarily work the other way around, where a woman that's ugly that has social status might not necessarily be able to pull the same caliber of guy, right, on her level. So that's kind of where the disconnect comes. So I say that to kind of paint the picture and the foundation that women are inherently not loyal because that is detrimental to their survival. If a woman's with a man and that man shows that he can no longer provide, protect, provision, and he can't maintain his duties, what ends up happening is she'll look to another guy that can, because, 1,000 years ago, this incompetency can get her killed. Not just her, but her child as well. So she has a vested interest in not just protecting herself, but her offspring. And if the man cannot provide that value for her and her offspring, well, her job is to survive alongside the children. Her duty is to herself and her children first. So if the man can't do his job, she leaves. This is why women initiate most breakups. This is why when women do break up with you, they feel almost no guilt, no resentment. They break up with you months in advance, right? And they find, we call it monkey branching, right, on this side of the internet. But this is how they're able to kind of get and find another guy right away. So I would argue that it behooves women to not be loyal because it is counteractive to their survival strategy. Whereas for us, men, we have the ability to not just have our beliefs, but we can fight to defend our beliefs, right? Every revolution was led by men for a reason. Men will pick up a sword to fight for their belief system, or a gun or a rifle. Women can't do that. So since they can't do that, they must align themselves with the strongest men that can ensure their survival. This is why, back in the day, a dude would have the top guy, Genghis Khan, would have all the women. Why? Because he would ensure their survival. It doesn't go the other way around. So with men, I think the reason why it's a masculine trait to be loyal and stand by your bros is because we're looked at as warriors and we can stand and defend ourselves and our brethren. Women can't do that. So we don't hold them to the same standard, right? There's a reason why it's called I'm a man of my word, right? And not I'm a woman of my word. There's a reason why when they say be a man, man up, 9 out of 10 times that means taking responsibility for not just yourself, but for other people. Women aren't held to these same standards. As much as people might say that sexist or misogynistic, it's true. We almost infantilize women. And then if they do want to rise up and be responsible, we applaud it. Cool, you're responsible and you're loyal. But as a man, you're expected to do that. For women, if they do it, it's, extra credit. For us, we must do it. It's mandatory. And if you don't do it, you're considered a bitch, and we have social norms in place to embarrass you and to shame you for not adhering or being loyal, right? Being a snake as a woman is completely acceptable, but being a snake as a man, that's met with a certain level of vitriol, even more so, because we're supposed to be honorable, right? That's the reason why, like, when the two men meet and they shake hands, that's supposed to be something, right? Scarface famously said, Al Pacino, all I have in this world is my balls and my word. That's a masculine thing. It's not a feminine thing, because women inherently cannot be loyal based off their biology.
So do you?
Okay,
so
no, I gotta jump.
Well, hold on. Let me ask this one last question, and then you got it, Q Diddy. So by that, do you think that we should not hold women accountable or as accountable when they decide to move on based off of their circumstances or based off of the whole mindset of survival or leveling up when they then go with a different guy?
That's a good question, because we're taking a biological urge and how they're wired, and we're trying to apply new social standards to that biological wiring.
Right.
I think the best way to approach this is, I think men need to understand the fundamental wiring of women, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if things go well for
Nigga, we at Queen.
Damn, I'm fast as shit.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
Color
we
my
throwing
own
you
arms.
you through balls. We kicking you through balls all through the game.
I'm faster than a motherfucker.
They just need to put in a good
Yeah, get that shit.
It won't be easy though.
Come on,
Bro. And why the first play of the game, niggas get a good chance on us?
Because I didn't even know what color I am.
I mean, we gonna get a better chance. Get that shit. Kick the ball. Good. Got it.
Nigga, I did not pass to myself. I passed to you.
We good.
R2. What's
up?
I'm starting to count this shit. That's one chance missing it.
All right, Chill, I'm good, bro.
The other night, I split a cab with someone named Sean Murphy. I searched for his username to pay him back.
Challenge put in.